Coming up on Network Africa. Nigeria police begins massive search for the driver and the vehicle which dropped off the suspected female suicide bombers of the deadly Kano attack on Wednesday, as the State Commissioner of Police vows to fish out the perpetrators. Chad extends state of emergency in the Western Lake region by 4 months, following a double attack by Boko Haram militants that killed some 12 people. And say hello to the biggest diamond uncovered in more than a century by a mining firm in Botswana. Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I am Adeshewa Josh.
We are journalists.
It's a sight everyone knows too well these days. Sorrow, tears and blood. And the faces of many wondering why all are happening. Kano bomb blast is coming barely 24 hours after the blast in Yola, Adamawa State, which killed at least 30 people. The largest Kano GSM market went up in flames after 2 female suicide bombers blew themselves up, killing at least 14 people and wounding more than 100 others. Meanwhile, the Kano State Police Commissioner, Mohammed Katsina, has vowed to track down the perpetrators.
What we know from eyewitness account is that a Sharon vehicle came with 6 women, all of them dressed in the cap. 2 of them were dropped here, and the other 4 left with the Sharon. The first woman came here and planted this explosive, while the other woman also planted outside. All of them, because they are suicide bombers, died in the adventure.
How many bombs?
Well, we have 2. We have 2. I think there are 3. The EOD detonated 1, while 2 exploded. Operation is ongoing. Wherever they are, we are going to fish them out. By the special of grace, inshallah.
Now let's give you more facts about that market and the blast. The explosion occurred around 4 p.m. local time. That's Nigerian time. The market is the biggest GSM market in northern Nigeria. It is located on Farm Center Road in Kano. It is a few blocks away from the state government house, Maraba Cinema, and a few kilometers from a police station. An estimated 2,000 youths are believed to trade in that market every day, and an estimated 3,000 people frequent the market daily. Now let's talk more about this blast and how to move away from this crisis in northern Nigeria. I'm being joined on the program by Captain Umar Aliu. He is a security consultant. Thank you so much for speaking to us and joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Now the first question I'm going to ask you is, can we not play up the locations of these disasters? Crowded places almost all the time, and then when it happens, we only get to respond, we don't get to prevent it.
Yeah, do we really respond or react?
React, okay.
Yes, we react when it happens. And reaction is basically doing things after the smoking gun. I recall when Yanya occurred in Abuja, I came out to advocate for a blueprint that should begin to stereotype, codify the conduct, the ground design of our market spaces, particularly market spaces that will accommodate more than 500 people concurrently. Because when we went back in time and we looked at the nature of these bombings the Central Market, Jos, the Boss Park in Kano, the Central Mosque in Kano, the GSM Park. We go as far back as Kaduna too. You discover that the perpetrators of these suicide bombings tend to have a high liking for densely populated places. But despite the fact that they like densely populated places, they don't appear in certain densely populated places. Like the stadium.
Are we saying they don't have the capacity to do that yet?
Why they don't do that is there is something about these places. There is one thread of similitude that runs through all these places we've been able to discern, and that is disorder.
Right.
Nothing is, nothing is arranged, nothing is streamlined. So you could actually get a little northern girl who is probably not even literate and maybe doesn't even speak English, and she'll be able to mingle and blend with the local populace in such areas more easily. So if you picked the same girl and tried to put her in an orderly place, you may not get the rate of success they have. Now, what I'm simply trying to say is that if you take a good look at our markets, things are done haphazardly. And that is a very big, gaping hole that is exploited. If you entered our marketplaces, you could do virtually anything and go unnoticed, because nobody is really, there are no rules per se. There's nothing is arranged. Everything is just pulverized in a typical marketplace as we know it. But now we need to begin to see our markets become a little bit more arranged. My heart song, my blueprint is all-inclusive security measures for marketplaces where you can actually have the traders drive security levels.
Right.
And that can be done simply. If today we had a blueprint for Market X, and we said Market X requires a CSO, Market X requires a fire safety officer, Market X requires blah, blah, blah. We need access and exit points. We need to mark out places. And we say, okay, CSO, we're going to do a 3-month audit. Maybe the civil defense or the SSS or the police, they will be the regulators of security levels across these marketplaces. If you don't meet those levels, we are going to put a state of alert on your market. Slamming a state of alert, maybe orange, red, or yellow on your market, means we're going to be advising the public to probably think twice about doing business there.
Another trend that a lot of people have noticed, and I have also picked up, is the fact that the people bombing these sites are small girls, female suicide bombers. And I'm going to draw your attention again to the modus operandi, what looks like the modus operandi of some of these terrorists. Let's listen to what our correspondent Aslan Freedom said about the attack in Yola yesterday, and what Mr. Katsina, that's the Commissioner of Police, said about the bombing in Kano. Just take a listen. Let's listen closely.
What we know from eyewitness account is that a Sharon vehicle came with 6 women, all of them dressed in the cap. 2 of them were dropped here, and the other 4 left with the Sharon. The first woman came here and planted this explosive, while the other woman also planted outside. All of them, because they are suicide bombers, died in the adventure. We have 2, I think there are 3. The EOD detonated 1, while 2 exploded. Operation is ongoing. Wherever they are, we are going to fish them out.
Actually, according to sources that we have, a black jeep drove into the area at about
a black jeep drove into the area?
Yes, and dropped a young man holding a little girl by the hand. He now approached the spot where food vendors were selling to the people. Some few minutes later, he started distributing new mints, 500 naira mints. He was distributing 500 naira mints, and that attracted a lot of children around him and other people. It was in that process the black people are already driven off that the young man detonated the bomb that was straight to the little girl he was holding by his hair.
Now, is this a useful clue in resolving this crisis?
Oh yes, there are so many useful clues.
I mean, this appears to be a trend. Female suicide bomber, someone drives into the market, drops off somebody, and then blows up the place. And then these cars, I mean, they exist in the same community.
Really,
These people are somebody's nannies, somebody's neighbor. Why is it looking so difficult to resolve?
It's looking difficult to resolve because we are blinded by what I want to call petty shenanigans. They could be ethnic, they could be social, they could be religious. And these shenanigans actually rob us of the focus we need and leverage on what these insurgents do. I'll tell you something about the recurrent use of the girl child for these suicide bombings. Look at it against this scenario. There are something we call street urchins in the north, almajiris. If we had so many little boys as almajiris in the north, you should also know that commensurately there will be so many little girls as almajiris too, except that they are not just visible. Probably based on the gender perceptions, religion-wise, they won't carry bowls and beg, but they are just as vulnerable as the little boys. So if we had, like, within a community, on a good day, you could see 300 little boys between the ages of 5 and 7 as almajiris, what makes you think there were no, like, 300 little girls too? Now that's one. Next, what effort are we making at local government and ward levels to account for every single woman?
Right. I mean, we now have the NIMC where,
Exactly.
you know, Nigerians have been registered. How
Exactly.
can we harness all
Exactly.
of this registration of SIM, registration
Exactly.
of getting identification number to place, at least to find how many people live in this community? And then by the time they begin to fall out or, you know, somebody's child is missing, then we can begin to trace where this is really coming from.
And, you know, when you look at that perception or that perspective of doing things, you begin to understand that to be able to do that, you require focus, open-mindedness, a little bit of imagination and innovation. Right. And when you look at our politics, such things are not really prevalent as we speak. We are more given to those shenanigans I spoke about that tends to disfocus us. All
right, let's wrap this up. I know a lot of countries in Africa after the Paris attack are taking up steps, you know, just to protect their citizens. Uganda and Kenya have stepped up security. Senegal is seeking to ban the use of burqa, you know, just to prevent any eventuality. What should we be doing? What new thing should we be doing?
What we should be doing new right now is to focus on the female child in northern Nigeria and indeed everywhere else. That is one. This shying away from women empowerment, we should even include girl child empowerment. Next, the burqa, the hijab, and the rest, they are not cast in stone. And where people want to cling to them, we have devices that will see right through your burqa, into your entrails, if possible. So wear all the burqa you like. If we have those devices placed, you walk past, everything that we want to see is going to be revealed.
Captain Ali Umar, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about this incident. Thank you so much for coming on Network Africa.
You're welcome.
Well, let's take a break on the program. When we come back, we'll be bringing you more stories. UN Human Rights Watch indicts Congolese soldiers of rape, says 14 women are victims. Do join us again.